Hey, what's up guys, it's TechZoomer talking to you here. And in today's video, I will try to help you decide between the iPhone 14 Plus and the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Because we have had these phones for a while now, since the iPhone 14 Plus has come out almost for a month now. And I gotta try to help you decide, and in my opinion, I will already tell my opinion, buy the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Do not spend the money on the iPhone 14 Plus, because there's something that I need to tell you. So if you are interested in these types of videos, please don't forget to leave a like down below and subscribe to my channel, because I think you will enjoy my type of content. Now, the iPhone 14 Plus, like I was telling you, is a very captivating phone, because the iPhone 14 Plus has the same size battery and display as the iPhone 14 Pro Max, costing less than $1,000, around $900. Then, why am I telling you just to go for the iPhone 14 Pro Max? Well, it's actually quite simple. Because there's the iPhone 14 Pro. And if you do want to spend less money than you actually need, I think you will be way better suited with the iPhone 14 Pro rather than the iPhone 14 Plus. Even if you want a big display, I still think that the 6.1-inch iPhone Pro, it's the better option for you. Either way, if you do really need the bigger display, then let's compare the iPhone 14 Plus to the iPhone 14 Pro Max, see what are the differences and where you will save and cut costs on the iPhone 14 Pro. So, no further ado, let's get started. So, I'm holding the iPhone 12 Pro Max on my hand just to try to hold something when I'm talking, and of course, just to try to exemplify the Pro model lineup, because this still retains some of the most annoying and better features of the iPhone Pro Max. So, yeah, let's start with the design. The design between the iPhone 14 Plus and the iPhone 14 Pro Max are very simple. The design is actually the same as this iPhone, so the iPhone 12 Pro Max. The design is the same squared off design. The only difference is the fact that the iPhone 14 Pro Max is made of these stainless steel sides and glass back, while the iPhone 14 Plus is made of aluminum sides, which are aluminum colored sides, which the color that you bought. But then you don't have a matte glass back, you have a glossy back, which, in my opinion, it's a complete fingerprint magnet. Yes, the Pro models have these fingerprint magnet sides, but it's just the sides, they feel premium, they feel heavy. The design just feels a lot better, while the iPhone 14 Plus just feels like a toy. It feels like way less premium actually, less heavy, and it almost feels like it's worse in a way. It's just the worst experience to hold. Of course, it's way cheaper. It's $200 cheaper, but the difference in price, together with some other factors that I will talk about later, just doesn't justify the iPhone 14 Plus. And even worse, like the difference between the iPhone 14 Plus and the iPhone 14 Pro, it's just ridiculous. Like $100. $100 you get way more stuff. So I think that the design, although it's a good thing being the same, it's the same squared off design, the iPhone Pro Max and Pro have a way better build. They are much more premium, they feel much better in the hand. So in terms of design, although they are the same design, based at least on the same design, these phones, the Pro models, are so much better built. And now the difference between that model, the iPhone 14 Plus, and the Pro models is so little that go for the jewel of the crown. Go for the iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max, just for the design, in my opinion. Then let's talk about the displays, because the display is just another field, while the iPhone 14 Plus just gets completely destroyed. The iPhone 14 Plus features a 60Hz display. It's even worse than the display on my iPhone 13 Pro Max. Imagine the iPhone 13 Pro Max display with no ProMotion. So it's actually that way. And stop the video. You might be thinking, why are you talking about the iPhone 14 Plus and the iPhone 14 Pro Max if you haven't bought any of those phones? Well, calm down yourself, calm down, breathe. I'll give you time. I'll wait. Are you calm now? Yeah, you better be. Because I've bought the iPhone 14 Pro Max and I've used it for 2 weeks. I actually returned it because I didn't thought it was a good upgrade over my iPhone 13 Pro Max. Then I have the iPhone 13 Pro Max, which if you turn off the ProMotion display, it's an iPhone 14 Plus. Completely the same. The same display, the same battery, the same main camera and ultra-wide camera, the same everything. The same chip, everything. Everything is the same. The only difference is that my iPhone 13 Pro Max has ProMotion and my iPhone 14 Plus doesn't. So, I mean, if that's another thing that you needed to consider, like the iPhone 14 Pro Max being not even a good deal when compared to the iPhone 13 Pro Max, I don't know what it is, because they're about the same price now with the iPhone 14 Plus at around $900 new. If you can find them. If you don't, then go for a used market or refurbished market and you will find them more cheaper. So in my opinion, the phone to get in 2022 is actually the iPhone 13 Pro Max, but let's not talk about that. Let's talk for another video that I already made, so go check it out on my channel. But the iPhone 14 Plus has the 60 Hz display. That's a really good display, 1200 nits if I'm not mistaken, top brightness displays, HDR, but it's only 60 Hz, while the Pro models have the ProMotion display. And this, in my opinion, is the biggest and best feature of the Pro lineup. It's smooth, it's perfect, it makes it worth it. Then you also have always on display, which, I mean, it's kind of a gimmick. It actually spends more battery life than it actually compensates. So in my opinion, it's a negative net worth of the always on display. So I just turned it off while I was using the iPhone 14 Pro Max, and I got almost as good battery life as my iPhone 13 Pro Max. Then, of course, there's the dynamic island. Again, in my opinion, a very, very big gimmick, which is so cool to look at the beginning, but then after one day or two, it just gets boring. The same whole stuff with the notch, so you don't really care. The always on display and dynamic island are the most appealing features that you already see when you pick up a display, but then after a few days, those are the least important ones. The difference between the iPhone 14 Pro Max and 14 Pro and the iPhone 14 Plus is not on, okay, there is a difference while looking at it. It's more beautiful, it's more modern, but no, the biggest difference is on the inside. It's on the inside tech. It's the ProMotion 120 Hz display. It can ramp down to 30 frames per second, so you can save battery life while you are watching 30 frames per second videos. You can go ramp down to 48 Hz when you are watching 24 frames per second movies. So yeah, it just gives you the perfect experience. And if you do a lot of content creation, content streaming, I think, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, it will handle better battery life just because the display is more optimized for doing that. If you like to do just complete stop scrolling and reading a lot of text, maybe the battery life on your iPhone 60 Hz, it's better because you will be scrolling a lot, and that's 120 Hz material for the display, and there's where the iPhone 14 Pro Max spends more battery life. But in terms of other than that, the display is a lot more brighter. It's 2000 nits bright, while the iPhone 14 Plus features the same brightness as my iPhone 13 Pro Max, 1200 nits. So at the end of the day, it's more bright outside, but when it starts to kick in the heat on the phone, it ramps down for about, I don't know, 20-30 minutes until it cools down, and then it goes up again. So it's an up and down, a yo-yo behavior, just because the phone can keep it itself cool while showing you 12,000 nits. That's why it's peak brightness and not sustained brightness. Talking about the battery life now, I think that the battery life between these two phones are very similar. Apple claims that the iPhone 14 Plus is the king of the battery in the iPhone 14 lineup. In my opinion, it depends a lot. If you are watching a lot of content, the iPhone 14 Pro Max will be better. If you are playing a lot of games, the iPhone 14 Pro Max might be worse just because you are playing a lot of games in 120 frames per second. If you are scrolling a lot in time of social media, the iPhone 14 Plus will be better. If you are like slowly watching movies and watching videos, then the iPhone 14 Pro Max will be better. At the end of the day, according to some tests, the iPhone 14 Pro Max is better for about 1 hour. That's it, not much. So yeah, even on battery, the Pro Max is better, even though Apple has told us that the Plus model would have the better battery life between those two. So at the end of the day, of course, battery is a tied up. These phones are way longer than one-day phones. They last you 1.5, 2 days. So at the end of the day, that really doesn't matter for about how much it can last. If it can last more than 1 day, then it's a win in my books. So yeah, these two phones have perfectly good battery lives. Between those two, that's not much of a difference. So let's talk about cameras. The cameras are probably the biggest feature and the biggest difference on these phones. The Pro models have 3 cameras, as you can see here, while the iPhone 14 Plus only has 2. The main camera and the ultra-wide camera. Just like my iPhone 13 Pro Max has the main camera, telephoto camera and ultra-wide camera, the iPhone 14 Pro Max has the main camera, an ultra-wide camera and a telephoto camera. And with the 48 megapixel sensor, which was improved from last year's 12 megapixel present on the iPhone 14 Plus, the iPhone 14 Pro Max can offer a 2 times optical zoom on the main camera. So it can give you a 2 times X camera without losing any quality, which is really, really good. So yeah, the iPhone 14 Pro Max has a way better camera. I will not sit here lying to you saying the iPhone 14 Pro Max is a very equal camera to the iPhone 14 Plus. No, I won't. The iPhone 14 Pro Max camera is way better. But the iPhone 14 Plus camera is not bad. It's the same camera as my iPhone 13 Pro Max with some twerks and features. For example, it doesn't have the telephoto lens, the 3x telephoto, so you cannot do the cinematic mode in 3x, you cannot do the portrait modes in 3x, which is actually very, very, very bad, because the portrait modes, when taken in 1x, they just feel weird. They're not that much cinematic, they're not much portraits, while the 3x just make it a lot better. And in my opinion, the best option is actually the 2x on the iPhone 14 Pro Max. I've tried it, and yeah, I really enjoy it. I used it for 2 weeks. So yeah, the camera system on the iPhone 14 Plus is really, really good. It's like on the top 2% of the phones on the market. But the iPhone 14 Pro Max camera, in my opinion, it's the best all-around camera on the smartphone market. And it sits on top Samsung S22 Ultra, I don't know, Huawei phones, Pixel phones. All of those cameras are really good in some situations, while the iPhone is the best all around. It's not the best in one trade, but it's the jack of all trades. So it's a jack of all trades, master of none. While the iPhone 14 Plus is really good in all of those camps, but it's not a flagship, it doesn't have flagship cameras, and in my opinion just sits behind the iPhone 14 Pro Max quite a bit. And for those $200 that you are spending less than the iPhone 14 Pro Max, I think you are losing a lot. Hear me out. The iPhone 14 Pro Max for $200 more offers you 128 gigabytes of storage, which the iPhone 14 Plus also offers. It offers you premium colors, which I really like, the purple and the new space black. It offers you the premium design, the stainless steel sides, the new heavy heftiness feel to it, the matte glass, which is incredible. It also offers you one more camera, which is the telephoto. It offers you a new main sensor with 48 megapixels. It offers you a new ultra wide, which is much, much better during low light situations. The video quality is much better. It offers you 4K 30 at cinematic mode. It offers you ProRes capability. It offers you so much. It offers you ProMotion display, a dynamic island, which will be implemented in the future. It offers you a barrier display, offers you a better chip, the A16, which I did not talk about because the A16 is just a little bit more efficient than the A15, but it's a new chip nonetheless. So at the end of the day, those $200 that you get are really worth it. So if you're asking yourself, please talk about the A16 chip against the A15. Okay, I will lay down some benchmarks. The A15 chip compared to the A16 chip, the difference are not that much. I think it was around 8% if I'm not mistaken, but I will post the results here on a B-roll. As you can see, the difference is not that much. I think the multi-core is a little bit more different than and more powerful than the A15, but at the end of the day, I think the GPU gains are better than the CPU gains. But in my opinion, it was just more of an efficient jump than it was a powerful jump, because the iPhone really needs more efficiency. The iPhone gets very hot very fast, the screen dims down. When you are playing games, the screen just gets very, very dark. So it's not the best experience. In my opinion, Apple needs to work on the efficiency of their chips, or at least the cooling of their phones. But in terms of performance and software upgradability, I think they will go down the same path and they will die at the same year. So in 9 years, they will be out of date. But until then, you will get the same amount of software updates and the same amount of performance. I don't see the difference between those two phones needing two different software upgrades and dying in 2 different ages. So at the end of the day, the iPhone 14 Plus is $200 cheaper than the iPhone 14 Pro Max, but it's way worse than the $200 that you are saving. So in my opinion, it's extra necessary to save the $200 to buy the iPhone 14 Pro Max. And if you are telling me, no, I do not spend more than $1,000 on a phone, then go for the iPhone 14 Pro if you do really enjoy it, or if you do really need a big phone with big displays and big batteries, consider the iPhone 13 Pro Max, which in my opinion is cheaper than the iPhone 14 Plus if you find it refurbished or used, and is much better. You have the 3x telephoto camera, the same camera system, the same chip, the same battery, just have a better display, which has ProMotion. So at the end of the day, the iPhone 13 Pro Max is the best deal if you are considering between these two. If you want the newest, shiniest, best phone, the iPhone 14 Pro Max is for you. So I think I helped you. If I did not, I'm sorry, but if I did help you, do not forget to drop a like down below, subscribe to the channel. I help you out. Now it's your turn to help me out. So do not forget to leave a comment on the comments down below saying which phone would you choose, the iPhone 14 Plus, the iPhone 14 Pro Max, or will you be cheeky and trust my advice and buy the iPhone 13 Pro Max? So let me know all of that on the comments down below. This has been Tech Summer talking to you here. Bye.